Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
It's been a while since we met, so I think the normal process is that we'll do introductions. Chris, you want to go?
Sure. Chris Weeks, not sure what else to say. Exeter resident and now former chair and now just regular member of the FAC.
Mark Layden, Chair of the committee.
Rob Corson, present. Member.
Dave Sharples, Town Planner.
First order is we did the roll call, signed minutes taker. That will be Rob Corson, volunteered. We don't have any past meeting minutes to review or approve,
No, I'll get those for next meeting.
so we'll table that.
Yeah.
Next on our agenda was the Parks and Rec, the 10 Hampton Road update. And Dave, I don't know if you could speak to that.
I can. I asked Greg for an update. He sent me one, and I'll just read it to you. They are working on the final design with JSA. They should be able to go out to bid for construction in the next few weeks. They've been working with Doug Eastman and the fire department to make sure the building meets all code requirements, and they will be happy to share the final design with the FAC when completed. So if they're going to go out to bid in the next few weeks, they're probably going to be done in the next few weeks. So we'll send those out. They are working on the required paperwork with the finance department to make sure the project meets the requirement for the CDFA, because they received the grant funding to do that. And they will be looking for someone from the FAC that will join us to review the proposed construction bids to make sure we find the right contractor to complete the project. So they'd like, because they usually, when we get in bids, is like a panel, if you will, and they would request a volunteer, if anyone wants to be on that panel and review the construction bids when they come in.
Any volunteers, or I'll nominate somebody?
Yourself?
No.
I nominate Chris Weeks.
When is it? I mean,
Well,
I think
it's a fluid thing. I think,
Okay.
they're going to go out to bid if they go out to bid the next few weeks, so I'd say probably
like a
April.
couple months. Yeah.
Yeah, you usually give 30 days,
Yeah.
for a bid to respond, somewhere in that range, so probably get them back in April, and probably a 2 or 3 week time frame to review, a couple
Yeah.
weeks, and then set up, whatever, maybe some questions or interviews or something. I don't think it's not professional services, it's more of, a bid, so I don't think it'll be more than, 1, maybe 2 meeting commitment.
Do you know what the criteria, is it not just low bid, or is it like, are they asking for something more than just a low bid? Do you know what that criteria is?
Well, generally, we go off the
Qualified.
lowest qualified bidder.
Okay,
So maybe they'll be looking someone to, just make sure they're the qualified bidder.
okay, so they will have criteria in the package saying this is what you have to meet to be qualified, maybe it's number of.
I would assume.
Okay, you don't, yeah.
They haven't put the bid out, but I'm sure the bid documents would have something to that effect. But that's a great point, and I'll just mention it to Greg that's, the FAC mentioned that, because that is, if you're going to say low qualified bidder, who is a qualified and who isn't?
Yeah.
So,
So Chris, did you accept?
I'll do it if nobody else wants to. Anybody else is more than
Okay.
welcome to do it, but if not, I'll.
I put it in the meeting notes, so I want to
Okay.
make sure that.
Now I can't
correct.
change my mind.
Yeah, it could be if they're gonna, I don't know how they can share these electronically, or if you have to go and be in the room and when they do the bids.
The bid opening, I don't know.
yeah, generally there is the bid opening. The select board usually do that, but then all they do is slice open the bid, say the contractor name and the amount being bid, and then hand them off for review and a recommendation.
Got it.
So they get them in, they open them, and then they send them off. Then that's when the process starts, and then go
Gotcha.
back to the select board after the review.
Okay.
Who was the architect? Was it?
JSA.
Oh, JSA. Yep.
JSA.
Okay.
And
Great.
the scope of this work is just those myriad little, I shouldn't say little, but changes like accessibility, ramps,
Egress.
egress. Do they put an elevator in
Yeah.
too? Okay.
Yeah. Well, they called it a lift.
Okay.
Supposedly there's a difference.
There is. Yeah.
So it's like it's a
not
little
enclosed.
cheaper option.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it serves the same purpose
Yeah,
functionally, but I guess it's different. It saved quite a bit of money. So yeah, they are reconfiguring a little bit,
Yeah,
some
okay.
space to make it more usable due to their programming, but essentially it's an accessibility, upgrade.
Okay.
Yeah, the bathroom, stuff like that, yeah.
What about mechanical, electrical upgrades? Do you know if they included that, or is it? Yeah, that's
I
okay. If we
don't
get the
remember.
package.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if
Yeah.
they can share that
Yep.
electronically, and then we
Yep.
can kind of go through that. See if there's anything we can help with as far as the design review process. Good. Any questions on that from you guys?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. Facilities condition assessment update. Dave, could you provide an update on that?
Weren't we supposed to have Jack back at that meeting, at the following meeting,
Yep.
and then we didn't have
Probably.
it? We couldn't
Right.
get a quorum. So, no, I don't have any latest update there. It's in the hands of the Department of Public Works and
Yeah.
Jeff Beck, but I can definitely reach out to him and reinvite him,
Hey, yeah.
reinvite him to a meeting.
I mean, so the last I remember, it was maybe it was our last real meeting that we had was
Paul?
the-
Vlasic?
Yeah, Paul was here, but didn't the company gave us a quick presentation, or maybe that was a couple meetings ago.
Yeah, it was probably last summer.
Was it that
No,
far?
not this summer, but
I think it was in the, but anyways,
that,
is
yeah.
that they were, the steps that I understand was that they were reviewing all the deliverables and that they were going to comment on the different projects or the different needs that were identified. So I'm assuming that process is done, so. the
Yeah,
report's
my
final.
understanding, I mean, I thought I shared all those assessments with you folks. I emailed them.
Yep.
But as far as implementation goes, that's what I thought you were
That's-
looking for an
yeah.
update.
Well,
And-
yeah, but I think at that point, if I remember that those were issued, but they were being reviewed. I mean, I thought that's where they were still, like Jeff and his team were going through and reviewing to make sure that they caught that it was accurate, that they didn't miss anything or whatever. So
Okay.
that's I don't know if anyone else remembers that, but what-
That's actually what I remember, there was going to be
Yeah.
a sorting kind of with the facility, with the team, the DPW to go through to make sure that the items were correctly identified and
and the estimates
documented,
too,
right?
right? I think they were making sure the estimates were,
Is this from the November meeting?
yeah, around then. Yeah, it was whatever. It was in the fall, I believe it was. It was.
Because we had the
Well,
meeting
it's-
where the report was presented, but then we met down in the wheelwright room.
Okay.
I think it was November.
all I remember is that meeting we had where Paul was up here,
That was.
basically said that it was going to be hard for them to do anything with that for a while. So
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that they haven't done much with it.
That was when the report was given to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Well, Steph.
And that was up here.
So is that something we want
That
to
could
put on
be-
the agenda for next month, is to
Yeah.
see if we can get?
I think so. I think it's a good idea if we could, but have Jeff attend.
Yep.
Dave, what time do you have to be out to Riverwoods?
I gotta leave at 6:30.
Okay.
Gotta be there at 6:45.
And do they have a director of DPW yet?
We do.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Steve Cronin, he's welcome addition, yeah. He's hit the
Yeah.
ground running, the log jam has seemed to, have loosened up. People have a little more time over there, so that's good.
Good.
They still have positions to fill, but that was a big addition. It's definitely
Yeah.
been noticeable to start moving, projects are moving again, where we didn't have the bandwidth before.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so maybe Steve would be one to invite as well with Jeff. Maybe.
Yeah. Do you want to run that by him, Dave, to see
Yeah.
who wants to attend?
I will invite Steve and Jeff to the next meeting.
And we can plant the seed in his ear to get going with that.
I did speak with Julie. When she found out I was going to be here, she said, I'm going to take a pass.
Okay, all right. So I just want to welcome Dan Chartrand, our select board rep, so thank you for.
Good to be here.
Yep. Our next on our agenda was the public safety complex, so Dave, I look to you for updates.
Yeah, we have been aggressively getting the word out, getting the facts. There's a fact sheet that we created that's downstairs in the town clerks. We've been disseminating them throughout, parts of town. We've had a couple of meetings where we went to like people's complexes and gave presentations and basically played the video of the police and fire video, so people would have the facts. Fire and police have been they visited, I think, 277 Water Street. They did Riverwoods a while back. They're Riverwoods tonight because it's the candidate and warrant article night tonight, so they're there tonight. They went to Jason Fritz, the deputy fire chief, went to Ray Farm, the new condo complex, and they were very excited about potentially having a, police and fire, public safety, right down the street to them. So he said he got a lot of positive feedback from those folks, and so now we're just kind of, keeping going. There's an open house next, I don't have it, is it next week? I think at the town hall, I don't want to, but there's another, final open house just for people across the street to come and, maybe ask questions, and we put out a fact sheet, and now it's just a matter of waiting to what the voters decide.
That's great.
In a
Yeah.
couple Tuesdays from now, so
There's some articles in the paper too, I think, right?
Yep.
The Seacoast.
Yep, and if it does pass, there was an amendment, I don't know, at the deliberative session, where it was, that was one of the articles in the paper. It was design, engineering, and net zero construction, and the first amendment was to put passive house standards in there. But then that didn't pass, and then they moved net zero from before construction to before design. So it reads, before it read design, engineering, and net zero construction. Now it reads net zero, design, engineering, and construction. Yeah, we didn't know the material effect. But our intent all along was to do a net zero building, the most highly efficient building with, on-site generation,
Renewables, yeah.
on-site generation, use passive, design where possible, add windows on this side, limit them on the, so that's always been the intent. So effectively, the amendment passed, but I don't know how material effect it had on our intent and what we visioned as a project.
The first amendment was a little more restrictive in terms of how we would have had to approach it. And then
Yeah.
there was kind of a compromise amendment that was like, sort of indicated that was a goal, but we felt that we could work within that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
But overall, good. Seemed like there was support for the project at whoever attended.
Yeah, except for the scrum around this language. No one really presented against the public safety building. So.
Good, and I don't know if you want to if we have time to talk about if it does get approved, what those next steps are. Do you want to bring that up, Dave?
Yeah, I've been kicking around, I've been talking internally to, staff, and because the next decision point would be to, decide on the delivery method for the project, and there are multiple, and we're just looking through them. We did have LaValle Brensinger do the study and the concept plans, but now basically we're looking at design, bid, build, design build, or a design build hybrid with a construction manager. Well, I'm not saying we're looking at them. Those are our options, and I've just been talking to various people just to kind of get a sense of, where this project is. Because what I've learned, I know a little bit about all three now, but what I've learned is certain projects fit certain delivery methods, some a little better than others, so if it's a large, complicated project, it might be, there's different, it might be better for this avenue and so forth. But I was hoping to just ask the question to you folks, because I went in and talked to Mark. He was very helpful, because he actually does, I think you've done them all, right?
Yeah.
You've done all those delivery methods, and maybe both of you have done them all, and just pros, cons, advantages, disadvantages, anything you've learned in those, doing that process.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about that a little more now, or
Yeah.
yeah?
I wouldn't mind. As long as I get the time. So. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Most of the stuff I've done has been design, bid, build with the construction manager involved early on. So
So the hybrid version.
Yeah, I guess like the hybrid. That's really common in Massachusetts because with the construction manager, you're typically working towards the GMP, the guaranteed maximum price. So
I just want to clarify, that's not the hybrid that you were talking about.
No?
No, that you were talking about a design build with a CM.
Yeah.
Hybrid, yeah, this is
Oh,
a design bid
build.
build.
Yeah.
It's still the same process, you just have the CM come on board early. And you bid it early, so you have a CM, a construction manager on board.
Yeah.
At some point during design,
Oh,
and they give you a
okay.
GMP that you just continue with construction with that CM.
Yeah, and the advantage to that, if you get in, and this is probably a bigger project, like what's the warrant article number for this?
17.
17 million?
17.
Okay.
No,
17 change.
17,522 or something, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and the good part of that process with the CM involved early, you typically get a lot of feedback early on in the design phases for constructability and also for pricing. So you get a really good sense of price because the CM is responsible for the guaranteed maximum price. So as they work towards the end of design, they're really trying to lock down the pricing on it. So having a CM is good in that respect. And then if the architect too, like in that system, the CM is contracted directly to the owner and the architect is contracted directly to the owner. So they can kind of provide oversight on each other as well, which some people think is good and some people think is bad. I think it's pretty good. It works out pretty well. It's okay to give sanity checks to each other. Sometimes
also-
they can have conflict and stuff, but that usually honestly works out for the better of the project too.
But you get real-time estimating, well, you get estimating.
much, yeah.
It depends what your contract is.
Yeah.
So we use that model too. And so I think a lot of people do. It's the CM will give you estimating at each phase of design, which helps. I mean, you guys are kind of locked in now, but at least that helps you to know if you need to make some value engineering or some cost reductions. But it also helps, I think, on the owner side, it does keep the architect or design team in check, but it also allows you to save some money on the design side where you don't necessarily have to have it to the same detail because you're not going back out on the street to bid. The CM is to the subcontractors, but they can handle a lot of the little details. They can fill in the blanks a little bit.
Yeah.
Depending
And
on the
CMs, you might have the same experience. CMs have a much better feel for pricing too. Like architects are okay, but they're not great at it. So the CM is able to provide that good input for that. I'm trying to think of what else. I don't know, Rob.
So what I'm seeing too is there's a lot more, even on the CM side, there's bringing in trade partners. So it's kind of like, it's somewhere in between. So from a design build standpoint, your trade partners are actually working on the design portion at the same time the design team is, but they're also doing cost checking. They're also doing comparison on approaches to the project so that what's happening is that if there's efficiencies or approaches to the project or anything else that the two engineers are working together to map it out, you're actually getting the best of both worlds. Plus, you're getting that cost estimating and driving the cost down. Plus, you're getting a checks and balance. And I think, to me, part of this is that what is the goal of the approach? If the goal of the approach is either faster delivery, less money, so what's the intent, right? If you were worried about having the checks and balances, what I think is one of the benefits of not all in one, is you get checks and balances. You get different approaches, different people actually supporting the owner's point of view versus just all being in one particular bucket. That's
In this case, given our process, where we would, if we ran over, we would have to go back to the voters a year later. That's like the worst case scenario. So you really want to be able to hit that number if the voters approve it.
Yeah.
So what's the best approach given that? That's because of our process, that's primary.
so the issue would be is that to me it would be a design with a CM on board with trade partners brought on early. That would be the
And a GMP
So
type setup.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. The difference with a construction manager is typically what you would end up doing is that you would lock in and if you're trying to competitively bid this.
The
with CMs.
17 million, whatever it is.
Yeah.
changed.
Well, but first, the thing you would say is that if you're gonna lock in with the CM, it's basically cost plus.
Yeah.
Right? So typically you would comparatively bid this to, say, 3 or 4 CMs, and you would have them comparatively bid things that they can lock in now, which is their CM fee, it's their markup, right? You could also have them lock in, if you know enough about the project, their general conditions, right? You can say, we expect this project to be 12 months, here's the scope of the project, provide us, we're gonna lock in your general conditions. So that's your superintendent, that's your office staff, that's the approach. So then those are locked in, and then the rest of it is they're gonna go out to bid to all the trade partners, all the subcontractors. Those, you can say, we want you to competitively bid those to a minimum number. And then what they'll come to you and say, all right, we went to 5 HVAC subs, here are the range, you get to help with them and pick who you want. Say it's the low bid, but then their cost is that cost plus their fee. So it's all open book, which is the advantage of the CM, right? And it's open book.
Yep.
You can get into, this is where you may, because you're a town, you could request audits, you could have an auditor come in and go through the books. But there's costs associated with that. Those aren't cheap, right? So it depends on the risk that you want to accept. But the CM model is really good because it's open book. And the market's competitive enough so that you know that what the market fee is going to be, and that's where somebody can go in and really sharpen that pencil because they want this project. And I would say the range is anywhere now probably between 2.25% to 3% of the market.
Yeah.
So, but it's again, there is advantage to that, and then you can really define what you want that scope for the CM to be. If they're on board at the beginning of a design, then there's pre-construction services that they would charge you for. But again, you can bid that. You can say, we want you to provide an estimate, 3 estimates, and put this out on and bid this, and what's that cost for that? But there is a cost associated with that. That's not free.
Right.
So that's the difference that you're paying for that. But there's value to that. But your point, you're getting the estimate, you're getting real estimating, you're getting where. If you know that all of a sudden you're starting to go above your budget, you can use them to help focus can you save
In the
money.
design phase.
In the design phase. That's where the most valuable there. You're at the, say, 50% design, they give you an estimate that you're over the 17 million. But then part of that, they can start to say, you know what, if we did this differently, we can save you, a couple percentage points and stuff so that you're not.
Right.
And then it ends up being a guaranteed maximum price, like Chris was saying. So they own that.
So
You don't typically save money, you don't really save money on GMPs, like they're never really going to come in under, if at all. I've never really seen that, but they are committed to that top line price, and if it goes over, then they have to eat
But I think one of the variations is that from a design build standpoint is you're never going to get apples to apples at the beginning. So from a design build, you're going to give them what are you going to give them to give you your base price? So you're basically going to sit there and say, we want you to build us a building. It's got approximately about this size. It's got this stuff in it. And then you're going to have 3 design build companies basically bidding on it. One's going to bid, I want to get this project so I can drive the cost down lower, and I can do the envelope for less money than this person because I don't know exactly what that envelope is. Or I don't know exactly what the mechanical system is. I don't know exactly what the electrical system is. I don't know what all these other things are, components are. I'm just going to give you kind of, there's more risk, I think, to not getting the level of quality potentially, by doing, to me, design build.
What if, though, I would never do that, to what you just said, but I was thinking, I was talking to a couple people in the design build world, and they said you could lay out minimum standards on certain items. So like it has to be net zero. So if you say net zero, that building envelope is going to be extremely insulated. You can't do it with fiberglass bat insulation. You're not going to get there. You're not going to be able to get there without some sort of solar, geothermal, heat pump combination.
There's lots of ways to get to net zero. So an example is that I could go and buy energy from somewhere else and actually get my net zero credits.
And keep your windows open.
Without buying RECs.
Yeah.
No
Well,
wrecks.
I guess
It's all
that's
on-site.
my point, is that actually those you'd have to develop a lot of pretty detailed criteria.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I think that there is a lot of work up front. We have to do an RFP process, and then that's what we hired somebody to help us with that process. But to your point, you have to define.
you have to define it.
I mean, but a
That's
lot of
what
it is,
we- yeah.
a lot of it is you define it saying that the building envelope has to meet these certain standards. It has
Yeah.
to be, constructed of these materials and that sort of thing. So there is more work up front. But in our experience, if you can do that, and it's a straightforward enough project, design build can save you time and can save you money. Now, there's more work associated with that because you have to have a lot more oversight as far as on your side, Dave, right? Because
Yeah, that was another, I was
there's
going
a
to say
little bit more
owners,
where you're going to have to make
project
sure
management, yeah.
that there's those checks and balances that you're talking about, right? Because you're hiring a construction manager that's going to hire the architect, and so they're going to try to put something together that they have, you can require them to make sure they have a professional engineer, a registered architect, all these different things, so they're responsible that way. But there's more than one way to do it, so you have to make sure that those parameters
Yeah.
are defined.
And I think that what your point was is that it's so part of the services you're buying with a design team is you actually get them to review the construction portion of it. So from an oversight standpoint, is if you're hiring a design build firm, you have the same people who have done the work are reviewing it, right, to make sure it's meeting the quality standards versus having a third party, which is you potentially could do a third party reviewer. You could hire somebody to say, I'm going to be the clerk of the works, and I'm going to oversee the job and make sure that it's complying to the standards which we set as part of our RFP process.
Yeah, I mean, I think my recommendation is regardless of the delivery method, you should probably have a clerk of the works. I mean, this is a big enough project where you'd want to have somebody to help you with that. But, yeah, I mean,
What kind of person do you look for?
well, I mean,
What
I think
qualifications do they have?
I mean, there's all kinds. I mean, there's the owner project managers that you have out there. There's all kinds of companies now that can do that.
Or you hire the companies that do it?
Yes,
Yeah.
we would. Yeah, we would hire a firm that would provide.
That would do the clerk, would be
because
the
they would
clerk
give
of the
you-
works?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
that's kind of an older
'Cause-
term, but I would say
Yeah.
that I use.
Owner
Because I've seen
project,
people like,
Yeah.
clerk of the works was a guy on a school board, I've seen that.
no,
Jeff,
so-
so-
Yeah,
okay.
OPM is the more common
Not that
term
they
now.
weren't good, it was just,
Yeah.
it wasn't a firm, you're saying.
Yeah. Well,
hire.
the idea with a firm is that you have the expertise of the firm, right?
Yeah.
So it's not one person that
Right.
their
Yeah.
specialty is,
Yeah.
that they're a superintendent for a contractor and that they're good at that, but they might not be good at design reviews, they might not be good with you for budgeting and stuff like that, right? So there's all kinds of different ways of that. I mean, that just depends on what you feel like you need.
Yeah, there's plenty of firms that do OPM services, like Dorr and Whittier. I think they interviewed for this project originally, and they have an OPM wing that does OPM of municipal projects, so.
Yeah, but they're doing fundamentally the same services that you would have if a design team, so submittal review, going through recs, going through all the same administrative portions of the contract would be administered by, the OPM. And they would have an engineer, they'd have a civil engineer, a structural, whatever else, reviewing those pieces and parts.
Yeah.
They could, if you want to pay for it.
One
But
thing,
I guess that's the
you
point,
could,
right?
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
point about all this stuff, is that part of this is that it has to do with risk management, right? It's
Yeah.
mitigation of risk. So if the reality is that if you're risk averse, then you're going to sit there and say, well, I can cut all these other people out. I'm just going to have, my facilities people come and review the project and they're going to sign off on it. But that's a decision you guys have to make about the level of risk you want to take in a $17.5 million project that's going to be here for the next 40 years, and it has a net zero or some sort of what I'll call higher performance standard or requirement for it. I mean,
Yeah.
just for us, when we do LEED, for a LEED certified building, the amount of work that goes into that is significant.
I think the net zero piece does add a little bit of a wrinkle to it.
It does.
I think that's a complicated one that there's still not a lot of people that.
Yeah, they probably should have said net zero ready.
Yeah.
No, really, because that way then, hey, we can't do solar day one, but, maybe
Yeah.
down the road.
Right, and I think it's an excellent point, because that's one of those things as you're scoping this out, is to say fundamentally, if you want to hit the 17 million and you want to make sure that you get your building,
Yeah.
the reality is you want to sit there and say, hey, by the way, we're not going to be able to afford solar right now because you're a municipality. You're not getting tax credits. You're not getting all the things that are associated with that. So, hey, let's make sure we get the room in there for our the gear to go into the space, but we may have to do it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is now you are, as a municipality. You are able.
Right, that's new. That's a very new, right?
Yeah. Through the PTC or the ITC,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure whatever we do will qualify for something under the IRA. It's the same, I'm taking advantage of the ITC. We
Right.
expect 30%
It's
back
not
on.
money. It's not cash, though. It's not.
No, it is.
No, you get cash.
Oh, you get cash?
Yeah,
It's, that's the way they changed it. It's a, because we don't pay taxes as a
Right.
municipality. That's why they was never available to us. So they created a direct pay. So there's a form you have to fill out through the IRS and actually submit.
That's good.
And then they
That's
cut
excellent.
you a check for, we're expecting for the solar array, once it's on, about $1.3 million.
Yep.
In a check. But on this one, I was reading both, and there's an ITC, investment tax credit, and a production tax credit. And I think we might be eligible for both. It just, I gotta
Yep.
dive into which one would be more beneficial. So I think we're gonna get, we're gonna be able to get a credit back as long as it's still in place when we go there. So hopefully it is.
Yeah, there's a couple ways that people approach net zero too. A lot of people in Mass will go all electric and then they'll say they're net zero emissions, because they're not generating any kind of carbon emissions from the building. And then there's net zero energy consumption, which I think is what you guys are committed to now, which would be generating enough energy on site to offset whatever you're using. So that's a much bigger task to.
Yeah, I mean, we did
manage.
put it in, the La Valley said that net zero, and they said net zero ready.
Yeah.
They said it added 3 or 4%. We did add that 3-4% to the budget, so that is already included in
Okay.
our cost.
Yeah, but that's net zero ready though, right? So that's, but
Correct.
that doesn't, again, might not include the solar panels or whatever else to get to that point.
Yeah.
But then talking with the folks, because I'm knee deep in solar now. There's a lot of options out there that they'll provide the equipment and the installation, and
Oh, yeah.
then you pay it back off the savings.
Yeah, and at least-
So there's no out of
Yeah.
pocket necessarily, so you don't have to raise and appropriate anything. So we're looking to hopefully try to figure it out, a delivery method, and try to
Yeah.
make it work and get just a couple of minimum standards that I talked about. So I would, this is great feedback. Even in addition, if anyone has any specific projects, I would love to see case studies. Okay, I worked on this project and here's the specifics, and this is what the product was, and who you hired, and just any and all information from.
Do you know of any other projects like this that from other towns that they did a design build?
Yes.
You do. So,
Yeah.
so you have colleagues that you can reach out to that's more closer to you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I've got several, but I haven't contacted them yet. I
Yep.
probably got 7 or 8 that have been done. I don't think they're net zero,
Yeah.
but what I did hear from the architect that actually was at the deliberative session, she's like, Boston, I think, requires it now. So it's like
Requires
Well,
what?
net zero.
Net zero?
Yeah.
Sort of.
And passive house kind of. So
Well, yeah, the new energy code has gone into effect, and we could go on a
Yeah,
long time
exactly.
about that. But yeah,
all this stuff
in
is
some
a little,
cases, yes, I'll say
all
that.
this stuff is a little fuzzy, and I
Yeah.
said that
There's a lot
there
of
is some
caveats.
ambiguity
Yeah.
to what passive house means depending on who you ask. It's kind of like the legal field.
Yeah, it depends on the project size and things like that.
Exactly, but I guess it's being done a lot down in Mass. Pretty much almost every building is there. So I'm looking for a couple. They're doing one. I think it's a public safety complex down there right now. I forget where it is, but it's a little different story because it's in it's multi-floor.
But they're doing design build or.
I
something
think
like
it's a
that.
hybrid.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
that one is a hybrid with a
Well,
design.
yeah.
They call it design bid hybrid, but I think we might be talking about the same thing because it was a construction manager. Because
But
I
you
think
can hire-
something,
Well,
I mean, in a design build, you can hire a construction manager and it'd still be a design build. So that's where, I mean, that's my experience, is that we hired a construction manager, so it's still open book. It's a cost plus, but it's the design portion, you can either be, that can be fixed or that could be a percentage. So there's different ways to do it, but so there's that still, you can hire a construction manager. And it follows the same, there's all kinds of different contracts that you could use to lock all those parameters in.
Yeah.
But that is my experience, that we hired a construction manager under a design build contract.
yeah.
So, and same thing, we ended up getting a GMP at a certain, you decide when you want that GMP, at what level design. And you could be doing it early, you could be doing it at the end. It just depends on where you are in the complexity of the project. And, so.
Yeah,
there's all
I mean, that's probably the most important, as Dan pointed out, I mean, probably there are a lot of important aspects to this project, but we only have what we have
Yep.
and we want to go ahead
Well, we have a
and
very-
get a project with a guaranteed maximum price. That's very attractive to me, because one of the worries about a design bid build is you design it, you spec everything out, and then you probably aren't done until November of '24, and then you put it out to bid and you get it back in early January, and the
way
lowest
over.
bid is over, and you're scrambling.
And we're too
to try
far,
to get
and
a
we're
public-
too far into our process.
You're too far.
To even try to attempt it that
Exactly.
year.
Yeah.
And so it's just this ever receding thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy what we do. It's wonderfully democratic. It's great, but it's crazy. It's a 40 million plus operation, as I always say, and we make decisions one time a year. And that's
get it.
just like,
Yeah,
really,
so that's the
a
one-
tough thing to hit.
Yeah,
and that's-
that's my fear about that. Just the timing of it. It's like if we do and we get the design, it'll be like in November, and we go out to bid. We're getting proposals back in January, and I mean, even if we had the time, it would be like we're showing up and jumping into a budget process that's pretty much complete, and trying to add on to it, which is never a good thing.
Can I add one more thing? For anyone that walked into this conversation partway through, this is all prospective conversation.
Oh, yeah.
We're not assuming this is going to be approved. We're just gathering information because this Facilities Advisory Committee does not meet every month. So we're gathering information, but obviously we're waiting for the voters to decide. So
Absolutely.
just context.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm not even going there. I'm just trying to evaluate the pros and cons to each of the delivery methods, and that was the vein I was talking about. But well said. Yeah, no, it's like
We're not presuming
it's all
anything.
about
Yes.
the yes.
But you won't be ready to hit the ground running if we
Absolutely.
are.
Yeah,
catching up.
and I think
yeah,
that's
the
that's really the
CM
point.
model with the GMP is really popular with public work for that reason.
what?
Well, it sets the
Which
price,
one?
so the municipality understands
What method?
the CM with the guaranteed maximum
Got it.
price. I don't have a lot of experience with design builds, so I don't know when that's a good time to
So
use that. And
we're finding that in most cases, what's happening is that just why I talked about their build partners being brought on early. So an example is that if it's a panelized exterior building, that's a design build scenario. Mechanical systems become design build. Electrical systems become design
well, is
build.
that design assist or design
It's
build?
more design
It's,
assist.
well,
right?
it's a little bit of both
Okay,
now,
okay.
because you're finding that things like the modeling and things like that, now what you're relying on the contractor to actually do or a third-party modeler to model the thing to begin to do clash detection, cost estimating, and things like that. So there's less that's happening potentially with the design firm actually laying out ductwork and all these other things versus.
So that can be tough for public work, though, because somebody can come in and do design assist, but they don't have the contract yet, and they have to bid out.
So
That's
like the ones we
subcontracted
did is
work.
actually, the design assist is actually similar to a GMP. The design assist folks are given a number, they're bid a number,
Okay.
and they have a GMP
So
number.
they've already bid
They have an
that.
open book scenario, they have
Okay.
everything is, this is your profit, this is your overhead, here's your cost of work, and so everything is done based upon the same concept, but now what you're doing is you're using the advice of the engineers with their group to come up with a solution that is actually driven towards the performance standards and everything else that you want for the project with a delivery method. And it culminates in a quicker, faster, so like even from a shop drawing standpoint, is most of the stuff is actually figured out by the time documents come out. You've already have what you need for.
So the bidding for the subs goes on in design then for that? Even
It's
before
early.
you have.
It's very early.
We've done that. We haven't been that as successful as I had hoped, but we've done that where you have, because especially with the BIM modeling that's out there now, that the subcontractors are required to do. There's no sense for the engineer. That works. Design assist works really well for renovations because there's no reason for the engineer to draw something that probably is not going to fit anyways, and then you have the contractor that has to do all the work to redraw the whole thing. So it's worked better for us on that, where the engineer provides an outline of this is the approach, and have the subcontractors do the actual field measuring and the modeling to make it fit.
Yep.
And
That
so, but
sounds
have
like-
the check-in with the engineers to say, yes,
Yep.
that's correct, that meets the code, and that basically approve the shop drawing part.
Yeah,
process.
that sounds fast but more expensive, I think, than.
I mean, the subcontractor has to do that anyways, right? They have to
They
do.
do, but it sounds like it's all happening in a condensed time frame, and that usually comes at a premium.
I think it depends on your timeline. I mean, I think it's, because part of it is that you're just trying not to be redundant with having the engineers or the design team try to do this all up front, which I know the contractor gets the modeling and then tries to work with that. But we've had more success where a hybrid of that, not necessarily what you were talking about, but we've brought them in early. But we do have, that's with the CM model though. That's where you hire a CM during the design process, and they will suggest, hey, fire protection, we do a lot. We've done that before with fire protection because that takes a lot for the contractor to lay that out, right? But you have to meet of course, the design guidelines that are out there, so.
So when you're talking that, you're saying you bring in so you hire someone to do the design and then you hire a construction manager?
Well, so that's what the design, bid, build process, but you have a CM come on board, and so to help you,
Oh, okay.
they're your advisor at that point, right? So they're doing pre-construction with you. You hire them to help you with pre-construction services, and they're your advisor. And so they're working with a design team to represent you, and at each stage of the design, they're reviewing it, estimating it, and
Gotcha.
that's where they would come in and say, hey, you know what? After this, from design development to the end of the design, let's bring in a fire protection contractor and have them take it from there and finish it. So you don't have to pay the engineer anymore to finish it. We'll take it from there and have the fire protection engineer sign off on approve the shop drawing based on that. So that's where you'd want to bring the CM to advise you on that.
Okay, because the design, I was looking at, one of them was the CM chose the architect with,
Yeah.
with
Okay.
with or without approval. It depends on how you wrote it.
That's the design build process, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
I mean, but that would be where during the
Gotcha.
RFP process, they would present to you that, hey, this is my team, right? This is who I'm going to hire to you to bring this, to design this for you, and.
I would guess the design build, there's probably two different types of firms of those. There's the CM who would go outside to get a design firm, like an architect. And then there's some that probably have everything like a one-stop shop. It's all
true.
in-house.
Yep.
They'll have an in-house architect and engineering staff. I think like Procon and
What
Hooksett.
I'm finding out is most of them are the former.
Yeah,
There's only one or two of the latter.
okay.
The whole in-house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them are, the ones I've been researching are basically construction managers.
yeah.
And then they have probably they're not part of the firm, but they have partners that they go to, and like a pool of, architects that they go to for this type of project, or, for this type of project. That's what I'm finding
Yeah,
out.
so
Like anything else, you'd want to make sure you got one that they've worked together before on a lot of projects,
Right.
Well, that was my concern when we talk about getting a CM, and we already have how do they meld? How do they mesh?
I mean, hopefully this was helpful. I mean, what do you want, is anything more from us, Dave, on this? Do you want us to?
No, I definitely want to continue the conversation, because I think I'd like to make a collective decision and a very informed decision on this. So It's an important project. We want to meet our goals, the budget one of them, energy efficiency is another one. A few goals, but I want to just make sure that what's the best delivery method, and not having been, I've been through design, bid, build a bunch, but I have not done the other.
Yeah, the CM is
the other
really
methods, and I'm
popular.
hearing, frankly, I hear a lot of positive things about them. I hear drawbacks too. I hear pros and cons to both, but I just want to, I think it would be a disservice to the town if I didn't at least explore all these different options.
No, I think you're doing. I think you're right. The a question, maybe you can't answer this, but would you automatically continue with the Valley for the design if you choose to go that delivery method, or would you entertain getting proposals from other architectural firms?
On a design bid build, I'd have to talk internally about that, about the process, because I'd have to talk with the town manager about that, which I haven't done fully yet, because we have a purchasing policy, and we followed it to hire LaValley. And that contract was signed, awarded, signed, executed, implemented, and then now it's over. So there might be an option just to bring them on board, because we had already went through kind of a, but I don't know the answer to that.
Do you have a proposal from them to finish the design?
No.
So you would ask them for a proposal anyways, based on what they've developed to date. So you could ask other firms to give you a proposal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I
If
guess I'm in the exploration stage right now about what we're going to do.
I mean, that would be an opportunity to at least make sure that the design team is, in a way, sharpening pencils or giving you the best thing, so.
Yeah, because it's a big project,
Yeah,
but it's not
and-
so complex. Somebody else could step in and,
Right.
Yeah, and you have the programming done, you
Yeah.
have the concept done, you know what the budget is, so it would be I would think, a pretty straightforward process for.
I do, yeah, and I think part of this is that we're still seeing, no matter what, escalation and cost prices are they're not going down, they're still escalating, and so part of this is that from a cost management standpoint, time becomes one of those factors, right? Everyone said last year, oh yeah, well, it's all going to calm down and prices are going to, it has not, as far as what I've seen.
I think there's been some that have slowed down.
Slowed down, right.
I think the only thing that is be interesting is whether they're, with as far as the amount of work that's out there, if that starts to slow down a little bit.
yeah.
I mean, that has slowed down a little bit, I think, so it just depends, but I don't know if it's enough for this project to make a difference, but,
Yeah.
I think it would be beneficial that if you did choose a design bid, build, delivery, to get several other proposals on the design side, but it does add time to it too, right? So my personal opinion that if you did that delivery method, I would highly recommend getting a CM on board at some point during design,
Yeah.
especially for what you guys have talked about.
I think would be one of your first steps would be is that process would be step one,
Yeah,
To
Construction.
get a construction manager.
yeah.
Yeah, so the reality is, if you guys were sitting there looking at, if you were going to do a design build, right? You're going to have to find out who's qualified, who's done the project, so it's almost like a, quals package, right? Just to see
Yeah.
who's out there, who's done public safety complex, who has the capability, the size, the bonding, or whatever else, right?
From being a construction manager.
No, either way, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna probably, my
Oh,
suspicion
okay.
is you're gonna have a lot less design build companies that have the same qualifications to do the project you want than you would construction managers. That's my assumption.
Yeah, I think there's you're gonna find
Yeah.
that probably a CM that is comfortable with a design build approach. I mean, there's a lot of CMs that already have partners with an architectural firm or a design firm that will partner quickly.
Yep.
Right. And so I mean, you see it a lot for development, residential, a lot of these, right? So there's a lot of companies that will already have, they're comfortable with that delivery method, and they'll just partner with somebody quickly.
Yep.
And so even though that's not all the work that they do, but they have a piece of that, right? And so I think it's a good idea for you to research it. I think
Yep.
if you have people, other municipalities that have done that, I think it's a really good idea for you, so then you get an understanding of that process.
CM and OPM work, yeah, both of those, I would say. owner project management oversight too.
Yeah.
So if like someone, if maybe you don't have to answer this, but it was like if this was your project and you're thinking like, you understand it pretty well and you know the budget and where we're at in it. I mean, what delivery method, I won't hold you to, do you have a preferred delivery method that you might want to, first explore, or, each of you, or?
Yeah, I don't know the design build world at all. I'll have to admit it. So,
Okay.
Like I said, for municipalities and public work that I've done, the CM model is really popular.
Okay.
The construction manager, and frequently towns will bring on outside owner project management too. Like if you're a small town or city and you don't have that in-house, then you'll bring that on board too. And those, you've got to do your due diligence finding a good OPM firm too, because some of them that I've worked with on schools.
What's the O in OPM?
Owner.
Owner.
Yeah, so you'll hire someone to be your owner project manager.
Okay.
They're your representative, and they'll oversee everything that's going on. They're just basically kind of watching what's going on and will report back to you, and they can step in if they need to. Sometimes, if you get a bad OPM, they'll just rubber stamp everything that the architect or the CM is doing, and they'll say everything looks fine to me. So you do have to make sure you get someone who's good and willing to really work well on your behalf, really represent the owner well. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as I just know the CM and the GMP process pretty well, and like I said, it works for towns. You're not going to save money on that 17 million. It'll, surprisingly, everything always will come in. The GMP is, it says 17.3, and maybe they'll throw you back $100,000 or $200,000, which we would love that. That's not a problem. But at the same time, you're not going to go over either. You get that peace of mind that we're going to hit.
That's big too.
Yeah, it is.
Going over is like almost not enough.
Yeah.
But I would say the advantage of the CM being on board that early is that you may have to adjust some of the scope to meet that number.
Yep.
Right? So you may need to go in and say, well, I really wanted to have, this type of HVAC system. Sorry, you can't afford that. You're going to have to go to something a little bit different because we're trying to stand to that number, right? So two things. I would, from my experience, I would definitely ask the questions that you are, and I think this could be a good model if you're prepared for it, and you'd have to have some sort of help to develop the RFP.
You mean the design build process?
Sorry, design build process. I think this could be a candidate for that, but you would have to have an OPM on board to help you with that process, right? Because it's complicated. And I think you would have to make sure that you understand some of the things that we've talked about. That
I agree.
You'd have to make sure the RFP process would have to be a really good, tight process. The other thing.
So an OPM and a construction manager.
Well, no, the OPM. So if on a design build delivery method, I would suggest that you hire an OPM to help you to manage that process to select a design build CM.
Gotcha.
Right.
That's what I meant. Like you'd have your OPM and then you would get a construction manager.
Yeah, if you go into the design
Got it.
build, because the LPM would help you they would take the administrative load to develop the request for proposal. They would help you develop all the documents that need to go out there and work with you to make sure that you are checking all the boxes on what you want through that interview process, right? And then you get somebody on board. So I think I would ask more questions and see if that's a good fit for you.
Yeah.
One thing that just on a note for if you the other delivery method, design, bid, build with a CM, is that if you hire a CM early in the process, right, and they work with you and they give you a GMP, you don't have to accept that GMP.
Right.
So if you get to that point and it's not a good fit, it didn't work well, and you don't want to work with them, you don't have to go any further with them. You could take that package and go back out to bid again. And then you can still decide at that point, say they finished the design, the GMP you got from that CM you don't like, you don't want to work with them, you reject it, you can go back out to the street and go out to bid again. And you can still select a CM at that point. It could still be a GMP. You just, the value of having them come in early is that you're hiring them for a pre-construction service. So if you can still get that value, they get paid for that. That does not mean you have to accept the GMP. You should make sure your contract says that. But so you have an out. Let me put it that way. You have an out. So
I know who I'm sending my contract to for review, though.
So we've gone to a certain point and it was not a good fit, and so we've gone back out to bid with that.
And that goes back to your, part of the thing is the criteria for what method works best for the project, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
the key. If you're worried about what you talked about earlier as far as getting to next year and saying, I don't know what we're doing, this came in over budget, this isn't working, all our eggs in one basket, and I think that helps to determine things like what layers do you need to help
Right.
make those decisions. And I think this is kind of what everyone's been talking about, is that the, risk management and also somebody to help you kind of walk you through the process and everything else, and saying that the goal for us is to make sure that we're on budget and on time as of our 2025 schedule, right, for
Yeah.
Warren.
Yeah.
That's really your criteria, right?
It is, and I just want to make sure that if you do go to where you hire the CM during design, you're not locked into them to complete this project.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we've.
2 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, we've done it before where we've hired somebody, we've gotten to 50% design and design development. It was not a good fit, estimating was not good. We stopped and went out to bid again and hired a different CM. So you have
Yep.
when you bring them in early, you're hiring them for pre-construction, and for them to follow these steps, but if you can basically fire them if you want,
Yeah.
so. But-
So what would did you,
I would
Did you have thoughts on-
I would let the project approach drive my decision. For me,
Yeah.
I think if you're going to go design, I've done both, and the design build side of it, I think there are definitely advantages to that. I would say that the team is important, and having an OPM as part of that is a critical part of that. Who helps the town mitigate and do all the organization, because you're going to buy the building and some things in it, but then there's going to be all the other things that you have that are owner provided items, right? So all the stuff, the technology that goes into it, the other things that they're probably not going to deliver, somebody needs to manage and organize all those things and bring them all together into one package that is your $17 million package. And so, and as I said, I'd let your goals, what you want to get out of this project, be the drivers,
Yeah.
and what your risk profile looks like.
Sounds like either method
Right.
could work, Dave. to be
it does.
honest.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
I just,
find.
yeah, I think they all been done. They've all been successful. But I guess I'm gonna, if you don't mind, all 3 years, I'm gonna pick your brains. I mean,
Yeah.
we gotta wait. I'm just having this conversation just to be prepared in the event the voters voted in. But, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time doing anything but just kind of researching at this
Yeah,
point.
that's great.
But if it does pass, I'll be ready to hit the ground running and probably call you folks, see if because whatever we do, we're sending out something, right? And asking for something from somebody. And I'd be asking you folks to, anybody you've worked with or who should we, because we do an email list. We also put it in the paper, but we also target people we know and people that we get referred to and so, or have done similar projects and so forth. So I'll be back picking your brains again.
What I
really
like about this
appreciate it.
conversation is it means we're not going to stumble forward. And just, say, oh, we'll just do this. We're making a conscious choice. So that's why this conversation's great. And that's why we value all of your expertise so much. Because I have no expertise in this.
I think it's good, I just appreciate that you're asking these questions, that you're thinking
Yeah.
outside the box, not just going through the standard process. I think it's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
now the
thank
design
you.
bid build without the CM oversight, you're right, that's just a ticking time bomb. And,
Yeah, that one wasn't kind of like, I kind of just put that,
Yeah.
it was, to me, I was boiling down to a couple of different approaches, and then I heard a kind of a third here of a hybrid kind of design, build, construction manager deal, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where the space I had come to.
Yep.
So, yeah, thank you for that. It's good to know, you folks know a lot more about this than I do, so it's good to hear that little bit of reinforcement there.
So now you need to get out to Riverwoods to help sell
I do.
voters out
Oh,
there.
yes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hopefully.
Thanks,
Your
Dave.
salesperson hat on.
That was good. Good
Yeah.
discussion. Thanks, Dave, for bringing
Good
that
to
up.
see you,
Thanks,
Dave.
Dave.
Take care.
So, all right, next on the agenda we had, and I wanted to bring this up, we don't necessarily have to decide this today, was just our committee goals for 2024, and we're almost into March now, but when I
Still
did the.
Q1.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It's our first meeting of the year. So I don't know if we did this last year. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But it's more just about what is our process? What do we want to accomplish this year? I think, maybe this, what we were discussing today, and if we're successful as a town, then maybe this is a really good goal that we can help support, the town with that execution.
Yeah, so one of the things I'd love to see us work on is, we were kind of, with that facilities report, we were handed, is 17 million what the facilities, that's the number tonight, isn't it? We were about 17 million behind in our maintaining of our buildings. Sort of, if we look at that report, now obviously, there's probably some things in the report we don't need to attend to, but how do we begin to conceive of shaping maintenance of our buildings based on that report, and going to the voters eventually and saying, this is what we need to take care of the buildings that we have.
And I think that was the facility assessment was the first step in identifying the deferred maintenance that's happened over the last 40 years. And so I think that if we would talk about goals would be is that we talked about this next steps, which is starting to look at the prioritization of each of those areas, right? To sit there and say, like we've talked about, the maintenance, we got DPW, you've got, still have the rest of the complex that here, you have the Court Street, so it's layering, and then we have the town hall. So
is it fair to, are we talking about capital planning, it sounds like?
Yes.
So we have an FCA report now, so we have data that we've been wanting to get for a couple of years. So now it's taking that data and developing, working with the town to help develop a long-term capital planning document.
Yeah, that's a goal that I think, and that's why when we have DPW, Jeff and, what was the new guy's name, Steve? Steve, yeah, when they come in, that they're going to be the drivers of it, so we kind of got to nudge them in the direction of implementing this stuff, because I know they've been overworked and understaffed, and they really haven't probably done much with it.
But again, the way the town model works is, there's citizen committees that push the process and drive it along and have input.
Yeah.
And we're very lucky with the members of this Facilities Advisory Committee to have a lot of experience, like you just demonstrated. So it's a conversation.
Yeah.
Definitely, they're the ones that are ultimately going to do the work, oversee the work. But as the citizen volunteers, that conversation has to happen.
Yeah, if we can pull them in front of us, maybe it'll put us at the top of their minds, and they might react a little more.
Well, and I'd love to kick around, what are the priorities, and how fast or how slow do we go in terms of catching up on the deferred maintenance?
Yeah, and part of that report, without getting too deeply into it, it is kind of divided up into severity factors. So, there should be a list of things that are really high severity that would be a portion of that money. So you wouldn't need like all 17 million, but what do we need to get out of the hole on those things? So, we just got to start using it. We were going to disband after they finally got the FCA, but now we got to help.
That's just the start.
Yes.
Well, and ideally is that this leads into the CIP process, right? So
That's right.
Right. So as you have a long-term capital plan, and then you talk to a prioritization that should lead to developing CIP projects, I would think.
Correct. Absolutely.
I mean, and what we had hoped is that you would have the data to be able to help prioritization, but then also help communicate why it's a priority when you have the data. So.
And as the keeper of the CIP, staff side keeper of the CIP, that's why Dave is such an important staff liaison for this committee.
Do we want to, as a goal, we've talked for several years about the CIP process. We haven't really, I don't know if we've had the time or whatever to be part of that fully, so.
Yeah, my understanding is I've come in partway through, but you were waiting for that facilities assessment.
Yeah. Yep.
To inform your work in getting into the CIP.
But even the ones that we haven't, like, when we first started, we were, public safety complex was part of this, so we provided a letter of support for some of those projects.
Yeah, and we did that, and I think last year, we've done that, I think every year we've been here pretty much. There's been some CIP projects that we've identified and contributed support for, or or cautioned against for various reasons. And then last year, I think we did the additional step. We finally connected with the Budget Recommendations Committee before, the warrant articles were,
While they were doing their process.
while they were going through their
Late
process.
summer and fall.
Because in the past, we've had some times where we've advised, and it's been conflicting information with what BRC came up with, so.
But also to save staff time too, right? So they don't have to present to us, present to budget
Right.
recommendations, so, or not necessarily present, but they don't have to feel like that they have two committees that they're trying to.
Yeah, so we were trying
work
to
with.
connect with Bob sooner in the year so that we can say, hey, this is what we're thinking about on these capital projects. We haven't gotten into wastewater management, any of the horizontal type stuff. It's been all vertical building type stuff, so.
Does that translate into a goal that we want to?
Yeah, we should
Work with them more?
We should ask the Chair of Budget Recommendation, Bob Kelly, to attend one of our meetings
Yeah,
with that specific idea of what.
yeah. Yeah, and
you
like
know,
Mark and I,
This would probably be the summertime when we had a better
Yeah.
idea of what we were hoping to prioritize.
I think Mark and I met with him in the fall, was it last
Yeah.
year, Mark? And
Yeah.
we talked through the CIP items that we had an interest in.
Better mid to late summer.
Yeah, okay.
Which is tough because everyone's
Yeah.
away at different times, but.
So I guess
But if
that's a goal, is to continue to participate in the CIP process, at least in terms of advising the select board and working with the BRC to come to consensus on these items too.
Yeah, and one of the things I see my role is to report to the select board very accurately what, I don't have an agenda. My job is to bring that information to the select board.
Right.
I report after we've met.
Yeah.
The first meeting after we've met. We are meeting next Monday, so I'll report out on this meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so what I have on my notes, roughly three goals. One is the FCA and using that to start to develop a capital plan. Priority to help with the prioritization of deferred maintenance, which may be more, could be connected to the capital plan. Participate in the CIP and work with the BRC on the CIP process, or even maybe formalize
Yeah.
a stronger relationship with the BRC. So,
Yeah.
And Dave will help that to happen as well.
yeah.
No, Bob's been great, showing willingness to get with us too, so he welcomes our involvement.
Yeah, no, it's been good, and I
Yeah.
think we both see value.
Yeah, I think when I was doing that, I think at the end of the year, we used to have to write our summary up.
Yes.
And then
That's what
we would
triggered
write our
this.
goals
Yeah,
down.
that's why I had to do that for last year.
Oh,
That's
you
what
haven't
triggered-
done that yet? Pam used to harass me.
No, it's done, I did that.
Oh, all
When I
right,
was
all
doing it, I was like, well.
Oh, for the town report.
Town report.
Oh,
so
okay.
we
I was
need to
gonna
start-
say, she
let's
used
have
to
goals now, so that
Kick my butt.
in December, if I'm not the chair, somebody else can report out, hey, these are the goals. that-
Yeah, yeah. I always
They
used to put on there
establish,
too,
yeah.
we want to add more members if possible.
There you go.
So,
That's a good one.
Oh, there you go.
Well-
Increased membership.
yeah.
I'll bring up something I've talked about a few
Because
times. is that-
we have Alan, and then we still have another full-time open seat, and then we have two alternates that we've never filled. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just, something we had talked about a while back, which was trying to get some of this disparate committees that are associated with facilities unified.
Yeah, like energy committees.
Energy committee, in the sustainability, energy, and facilities, to me, are kind of a natural alignment and then what you have is, now you have from a quorum standpoint, from an agenda standpoint, you really do have a group of people that are enough to be able to carry those
I'm
things.
smiling because Energy and Sustainability Advisory just met together
Yep.
to determine whether they wanted to kind of join their committees together.
Smart.
In the end, they decided not to because there were some meeting time difficulties. But they had an amazing meeting
Yeah.
where they really kind of did lightning rounds of reviewing their projects, and each committee was very interested in what the other committee was doing. So you could see that there were a lot of like minds in the room, and a lot of great energy that we need to sustain.
But could you organize this in a different way, similar to with the BRC, which is that you have an overarching committee, and then you have subcommittees that are part of that, which would be whether it's quarterly or something like that, you do exactly that. You have an all boards or an all group meeting, which you kind of get together and you do that.
So the ultimate decision, or not decision, but the sense of the meeting was that they didn't want to join forces, but they want to meet on a quarterly or maybe 2 times a year. And I could see pulling the 3 committees.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could have,
Using that model, maybe once a year or twice
Yeah.
a year,
Yeah.
have all 3 committees meet.
yeah, I mean, you were looking more as to have a larger committee, and maybe you could have, like you said, subcommittee or working groups that would be focused on energy,
Yep.
sustainability.
right, and then ultimately you
Whatever.
come back together, because then what ends up happening is when we start looking at this whole idea of prioritization, it is if sustainability and energy are prioritizations that need to go into these things that aren't going to be in that
Yeah,
list, that they need to be dovetailed into that, so that,
So what I can do is I can talk to Dave, and Kristen is she's the staff side support for those 2 committees.
Yep.
So it's just 2 staff people that kind of need to coordinate to pull that 3
I'm just bringing it up as a point, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
so, I mean, I guess our goal would be is that we have better coordination and whatever we can.
With the other
but-
committees.
With
but each-
sustainability, advisory, and energy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
each of those,
that's great.
each of those committees have a charter from the select board, though, right, or from the town manager.
Energy, I think, has a charter from the select board. Sustainability advisory was voted on by the voters. It was a citizens petition, so that's how they were established. So
Okay.
they have their charter directly from the legislative body,
Oh,
which, so that's but I love the idea of pulling those 3 together, especially given that there's, this committee is at the point where it's really going to start taking a look at actively working on what we got with the facilities condition assessment.
So right now, this short-term goal is to have the 3 committees, 3 groups come together and share information and
Yeah.
have a joint meeting.
Share enthusiasms.
Yeah. So not necessarily combined permanently, but just have a coordinated meeting that we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably once a year would be realistic at a minimum.
Yeah. And-
Twice
and-
would be,
And sometime in the first half of the year,
Yeah.
I think.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Prior
maybe
to everything teamed up.
Maybe that's something we just work out with the group, to sit there and say, what are the key kind of milestones that you're working towards, because you may have things like, right, budget-related items, and then what are maintenance items, right? So, as we go through what are the touch points? What are the areas in which there are commonalities, right?
Okay.
That's great.
All right, so you typed all this down, right, Rob? You got all these, because you can,
Yes.
you've been writing notes too. You'll have to take a picture on your cell
I know,
phone and
but I
text
can't.
it to him.
I can't read it after so maybe, so we have some draft goals.
Yeah, that's plenty.
I would say
That's plenty.
our next meeting, we review those again, maybe formalize those.
That's a full year's work right there.
Especially for us.
Yeah, I think every year, like I was doing it, we just put, get FCA passed.
I know, yours is easy.
Get
Yeah.
FCA passed and add new members. I think that was the 2 big ones I always put.
Yeah.
So we have 1 spot open right now?
Yes, one full-time, one regular rotation, and then we have 2 alternates. And since
Okay.
Alan hasn't made very many meetings, and
Be good
it
to
sounds
have
like he
an
might
alternate
not
or
be
two.
feeling great, so alternates would one of the alternates would be.
Remind me, which Alan are we talking?
Alan Mangan.
Okay, got it.
He's
I think
also on the
he was on
water
the-
sewer advice.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to have 1 or 2 alternates.
Yes.
And we have 2 slots.
We have 2 alternates and 1 regular slot open. We have
Got
3
it.
slots open.
Okay, good to know. I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, contractors, anything, builders.
Yeah, it'd be good to get some from that side, for sure. All right, good committee goal discussion. Next, we had new business. Chris,
None, I have no new business.
I brought mine up, I'm good. Dan?
I'm good.
I'm
Are we
good.
going to meet monthly? Are we going to try that going forward here? Is
I
that-
think that's what the town has us. It's
Okay.
is it the third week? Third week?
Third,
of the
Yeah,
month?
Yep.
all right.
Yeah, so we're on for March, third week of March.
Okay.
It is Wednesday at 5:30. Wednesday's at 5:30.
When is it?
It will be, it's at 5:30.
Oh, the third
Third
week,
week, it's a
right.
Wednesday of the third week.
This is the third week this month?
Well, maybe it's the fourth week. Is it the fourth
Maybe
week?
it's the fourth.
I
'cause
think it's the 4th,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
All right,
tomorrow's
fourth
the
week.
29th. Yeah, it
So
must be the
4th Wednesday of each month. at
Yeah, I don't have
Or
my,
you could say last.
It's on, yeah, it's on the, if you go to the website, it's
Yeah.
on, it's already, the town's already got the schedule for us.
Pam's got it all-
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
set.
all
so
laid out.
It's
Okay.
probably the 4th, since we're in the 4th month of February,
Yeah.
so 4th week of February.
Got it?
Yeah, so the next meeting.
All
All right,
Well, that was great.
sounds good.
Dave got a lot of good stuff out of that conversation.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully the warrant passes and
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. If it doesn't, then I don't know what,
It's
I guess
what
we
the
didn't-
voters know.
we didn't want to talk about that. What
is
if
the
it doesn't
voting
pass?
Voting is a week from this coming Monday.
Monday. Oh, okay.
Or, I'm sorry, this coming Tuesday.
Oh,
It's a
Pardon me.
week from Tuesday.
A week
Okay.
from Tuesday.
All right, I was thinking it was this Tuesday, but it's. a
Yeah,
week
it's
away.
always
All
the
right.
second.
It usually
Tuesday.
is, yeah,
So I left my phone at home. What date is that? That is what's today?
The 4th is
Gosh,
a Monday.
tomorro's the
Yeah.
29th.
So it's the 12th.
Friday's
Yes, March
1st.
12th.
Okay.
And polls are open from 7 in the morning till 8 in the evening. So you got a good
Yeah.
big window to hit.
Yeah.
Let's cross fingers, we're not gonna get a snowstorm, right? No snow. so
That's what happened last year, yeah.
Yeah, was it last year, 2 years ago? Yeah, whatever it was.
No, it was just last,
It's-
yeah, it was just last year because the public safety complex lost by, I think we needed 60% of the vote and we got like 58%
Yeah,
or something like that.
it had a majority, but it
Yeah.
fell short by 45 votes
Yeah.
of getting the super majority.
And it was a terrible weather day that day. It did snow in the morning quite a bit, so the turnout was really low. Like, I think we usually get like 3,000 to 4,000 registered voters usually, I think, maybe more.
3 is a good number.
Yeah.
3 is a
then-
really good number.
But on this one last year with the snowstorm, it was like 1,500 maybe.
I think that actually if there isn't a major item on the thing, it's usually probably like 1,500 to 2,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
So
you're
if
not
there's a
convinced
major
of
item,
whether-
yeah, it's 3,000 or it's pretty high, but
Well, hopefully
see
this
what
is
the
major.
voters say.
Yeah. hopefully
Yep.
this is major. So,
Yeah, I have
They're
no
the
idea.
deciders.
do we want to do a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I make a motion to adjourn.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
Oh, good, that's what my meeting notes said.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.